What up folks, it's Alex here and welcome to 5 Minute Friday. Now I know, this footage, it's not very nice. The colours are wrong, the white balance is off, there's very little contrast and there's not really much saturation either. It just kind of sucks. So in this video, I'm going to show you some real quick, simple settings you can change within the colour tab, which have a really dramatic effect. And they can take footage like this and turn it into footage like this. Now just to be clear, this isn't really a tutorial on colour grading. We're not going to look at nodes or scopes or any of that kind of stuff. So down below I've linked to some other YouTubers who have done just that, so you can check out some proper colour grading tutorials if that's what you're into. This is just a quick guide to show you some real quick things you can change to hopefully improve your footage in no time at all. So let's open DaVinci Resolve and I'll show you what's what. So here we are folks, we're in DaVinci Resolve and this is the footage which needs fixing. So whenever I'm doing this sort of colour grade, i.e. it's all from the same location but it's multiple clips that I need to apply the grade to, I do so using an adjustment clip. Now if you don't know what adjustment clips are, click on the video linked above where I talk about them in more detail. But in essence they just make your life a little bit easier because you can apply a colour grade to multiple clips without actually having to copy them across. So we're just going to add that now by going to the effects library, down to the toolbox here and effects, and then grabbing the adjustment clip and dragging it onto my timeline above my files. And now we can apply the color grade to the adjustment clip rather than having to apply it to each individual file. Right, so let's hop into the color tab. Now if you're unfamiliar with the color tab, it works very similar to all the other screens within DaVinci Resolve. We've got our main preview at the top here, we've got a timeline in the middle, and then we've got all of our controls along the bottom. Now I need to make sure that I select my adjustment clip from the timeline because that's the thing I need to apply the grade to. So I'm just going to give that a click. And now there's a few things we need to fix. The walls look really yellow and I like a funny color and all that sort of thing. So we're going to fix the white balance. Now that's dead easy to do. We're going to shoot to the bottom left hand corner and there's this sort of ink dropper icon here and it says white balance. I'm going to give that a click and your cursor will turn into that icon. And then all you need to do is click on an area within your footage that you want to become the white point, essentially. So you're looking for a white area or a neutral grey. So in this instance, I've got these 4 squares of white on my top. I'm going to use those as my reference. I'm going to give that a click. And DaVinci Resolve will automatically adjust the white balance to make that the white point. And actually, it's done a pretty good job. Now, if it's not done enough, you need to make some minor adjustments to your white balance. That's dead easy as well. Again, from the bottom left-hand corner where you've got this 1 and then 2, click the number 2, and then you've got temperature, and then you've got tint. So temperature essentially adjusts orange and blue. So if I click on this number here, and I can drag my cursor to the right to go up to 4000, and then left to go all the way down to minus 4000. That's your color temperature. So minus 4000 is blue, and 4000 is orange, and you can just make those minor adjustments till you're happy with the white balance. Now tint is green and purple. As if I drag to the right, I've got pinks or purples, and then to the left we've got greens. So if you've got a bit of a green hue to your footage, you can just fix that using the tint. Now if at any point you get that wrong or you've gone too far and you want to reset it back to 0, simply click on the word either tint or temperature. So if I click on tint, that'll reset back to 0, and then same for temperature. So the next thing we need to do is add some contrast. So this looks really flat. The blacks aren't very black and the whites still look a little bit horrible. So we need to add some contrast to give it a bit of punch. Again, from down here in the bottom left-hand corner, we're going to go back to the number 1 this time. And then we've got contrast. And exactly the same thing. It's 1 by default, goes up to 2, goes all the way down to 0. So I'm just going to drag that until this looks about right. Now I'm a sucker for a bit of contrast, so I'm going to go all the way to about there. Now there are smarter, more intelligent ways of adding contrast, but they involve using curves and all smart things. This is just a real quick, easy way to apply some contrast. So I'm quite happy with that. The next, saturation. So it still looks a little bit washed out. The colours aren't popping quite as much as I'd like. If you look at this sign here, it looks a little bit rubbish, really. The reds don't look very good. So the same thing down here, you've got saturation. Now the midpoint for this one is 50, goes up to 100, and again down to 0. This is also how you can make any footage black and white. just set your saturation all the way down to 0 and job done. Now I'm going to just increase that again until it looks about right, which is there. So that's starting to look pretty good, but I do want to brighten it up just a little bit. So we're going to do that using the color wheels. So in this little menu here over on the left hand side, just underneath your timeline, we're going to click on this middle icon to bring up the color wheels. And then from this drop down menu, make sure that you're on primary wheels. Now the three we're going to look at are lift, gamma and gain. Lift controls your shadows or the dark areas of your footage. Gain controls the highlights or the bright area of your footage. And gamma is your midtones, basically everything in between the shadows and the highlights. So to increase the brightness, a real quick way to do that, head to your gamma here. And then you've got this color wheel. We can ignore that for now. You've just got this sort of scroll wheel underneath. So we're just going to click our mouse, hold it down, and we're just going to drag that to the right and to the left. So I can decrease the gamma and I can increase it. If I've gone too far and I just want to reset that, I can do so just by clicking on this little icon here. So I'm just going to drag that to the right just to increase that brightness just that little bit. Now the last thing I'm going to do just to finish this footage off is to add orange and teal. So orange and teal is a real common technique where you add a little bit of blue or teal to the shadows and orange to the highlights. And you do that using lift and gain, but this time we're going to look at the color wheels. So remember, lift is the shadows. So all I'm going to do is click in the middle, drag this little circle. I want to drag it down, sort of to down this direction ever so slightly. You only need to do a slight different movement. Drag that down and it will just add a little bit of blue to the shadows, like so. And then we're going to come over to our gain. Same thing, but this time do the opposite direction. So I'm sort of going up here to the top left, just to add a little bit of orange and blue to the footage to make it look that little bit better. Now, if you didn't use an adjustment clip like me and you've got multiple clips you want to copy that color grade to, it's dead easy. All you need to do is click on the one you want to copy the color grading to. So I'm going to copy it to this one here. Then we're going to right click on my adjustment clip, the one that's got the color grade. And then we're just going to click on apply grade. And it will just copy that grade from this one onto the one that's selected. Alternatively, if you've got a middle button on your mouse, you can click on the one that you want the color grade copied to, go to the adjustment clip and then just click in your middle mouse button. And it will do the same thing. It will just copy that grade to the clip you've got selected. Hopefully that's useful, and fingers crossed it might get you out of a bind or two in the future. And that's it. I hope that was useful. If it was, thumbs up, any comments or feedback down below, and don't forget to subscribe for more Mr. Alex Tech tutorials. Thanks for watching, folks. I'll see you next time. Bye.